It is Tuesday, September the 11th. My name is Gareth Evans. Today we have got a load of news to talk about. What Germany are doing about the dodgy PSN terms and conditions, RIP single player games, not quite, PUBG's new player numbers achievement. But first, let's talk about loot boxes and EA. Yay! Recently, video game publishers like 2K, Valve and Activision have all been scrubbing their games of loot boxes for players in Belgium. This came after the Belgian government declared loot boxes to be a form of gambling back in April of this year. However, one big publisher has so far refused to comply with the country's new gambling laws, and that publisher is... well, it's EA. Everyone knows it's EA. Why did I even say that? It's EA. Of course it's EA. The investigation by the Belgium Gambling Commission back in April found that Overwatch, CSGO and FIFA 18 in particular all contained an illegal game of chance. This meant that loot boxes needed to be removed, ensuring that minors couldn't access any gambling elements. But so far, EA has refused to remove loot boxes from FIFA, with EA's CEO Andrew Wilson defending them back in April as being, quote, developed and implemented ethically and lawfully around the world. Ethically, smethically, it's not entirely ethical is what I'm trying to say. Ethically, doesn't work. And lawfully, just so long as, you know, the laws don't change, Andrew, which in this case they have. One common defense for FIFA's loot boxes is that they're just the same as Panini's football sticker packs. However, Peter Naessens of the Belgium Gambling Commission isn't having any of it, and he says loot boxes are worse than sticker packs. Quote, Panini prints just as many stickers from every footballer. It's not a roulette between uncommon and rare pictures. With FIFA 18, that is indeed the case. RIP to the argument that FIFA Ultimate Team card packs are the same as stickers. We knew you well. So what does this mean for EA? Well, the Belgian government is launching a criminal investigation and will likely be prosecuting EA for their non-compliance. Yeah, that's right, EA is likely to be prosecuted for just being greedy and stubborn. As for how the investigation will go, Naessens said that, quote, if the investigation makes us wrong, we will advocate revising the gambling law so that we can tackle the loot boxes. So with loot boxes reportedly making up 67% of all revenues for EA, which is around $3.5 billion American dollars every single year, you can see why EA don't want to concede any ground here, because it could set a very important, unwelcome and financially crippling precedent for them. EA are sticking to their guns and they'll probably go to court over it. I mean, you can see that happening. They've probably got the finances and the resources to be able to fight this in court, because the last thing that EA want to do is concede that it is gambling and take loot boxes out of FIFA Ultimate Team, or the card packs out of FIFA Ultimate Team, because once they concede Belgium, what's stopping Netherlands coming along and everyone else in Europe and even North America from coming along and saying that they're gambling? And that's 67% of their revenue, $3.5 billion every year. There's just no way they want to concede a single inch of that, because once the cards start falling here, get it, the cards, once the cards start falling, they'll all fall down like cards, the FIFA Ultimate Team cards, you know, like it's like a Ever since PUBG exploded into early access on Steam in March 2017 with its janky animations and unpolished presentation, it's fair to say that the game has had its fair share of both fans and detractors. But one thing you can't criticise the game for, however, is just how popular the game actually is. Adding even more testament to this, PUBG has just become the first ever game on Steam to exceed 1 million concurrent players every day for an entire year. With us being in the age where games as a service is more prevalent than ever, unit sales are no longer how we judge how successful a game is. The number of concurrent players is a far more useful metric of success for games which fall into the games as a service business model. Of course, the more players that you have playing your online game at any one time, the more opportunities you have for monetization, as in selling microtransactions. And of course, PUBG was around for a good while before Fortnite Battle Royale came along with its free-to-play and more polished entry to dominate the Battle Royale scene. Therefore, it makes sense that it becomes the first to cross the line with this milestone, even if Fortnite does go on to achieve bigger and better, eventually overshadowing this PUBG achievement. Let's be honest, that's what Fortnite has been doing to PUBG ever since it arrived on the scene. It's essentially like that annoying younger brother who nobody wanted in the first place, coming out of nowhere to take all the attention, the more talented and more intelligent little shit. I don't have a younger brother. I just put that out there for the record. I am in fact the younger brother in my family. Just for the record. Let's move on to the tastiest part of my day and your day, The news nuggets. First up, Project Judge, a brand new IP from the devs behind Yakuza, was announced and is coming to the West next year. The Last Remnant remastered from Square Enix was announced for the PS4. Insomniac Games have announced on Twitter that Spider-Man is getting a new Game Plus. Epic Games have announced the Fortnite Fall Skirmish, which promises a whopping $10 million prize pool. It was announced that Assassin's Creed Odyssey has 2 different gameplay modes, guided and exploration mode, or as I like to call them, scrub mode and regular mode. Dead or Alive 6 will officially be released worldwide on February the 15th and got a nice new trailer to go with the announcement. And talking of trailers, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice got a new 2-minute trailer. Assassin's Creed Odyssey got a new trailer titled Power of Choice. Shadow of the Tomb Raider also got a launch trailer. Kingdom Hearts 3 gets a new Tokyo Game Show trailer. And the mysterious JRPG Project Awakening from Japanese developer Cygames gets its first ever trailer. Links to everything I've just mentioned and more down in the description of this video. What's that? What more? It's the merch store, obviously. Links to the merch. Links to the merch? No? Okay. Next up, if you don't like jokes or fun or being happy and you're a miserable human being, you probably want to skip forward 30 seconds or so, but let's do a dad joke. Guy walks into a doctor and says, "Doctor, I feel like a supermarket." Doctor says, "How long have you felt like this?" And the man says, "Ever since I was little." Little. Thanks to Tons from the PGG Discord Dad Jokes channel for today's joke. Let's move on. Let's move on quickly. Belgium's Gambling Commission wasn't the only government organisation getting involved in video games recently. Sony were under fire this week from a German consumer association after a complaint was made about the terms and conditions for the PlayStation Network, or PSN. The Consumer Association found that the PSN's terms and conditions were, quote, incompatible with the law in 3 different areas. The first was how your credit on PSN expires after 2 years if you don't spend it. The second was a clause that blamed parents for in-game purchases made by their underage children. And finally, it isn't made clear that you forego your right of withdrawal, i.e. getting a refund, when buying items on the digital storefront. While the Consumer Association has sent a cease and desist to encourage Sony to change their T's and C's, they have said they will take Sony to court if they don't comply with the complaints. This obviously makes a whole load of sense, and thanks to the German authorities for bringing this to our attention. These are the types of things that go by unnoticed otherwise. Now, who reads the T's and C's? Pretty much nobody other than government organisations. I don't know if it's just Germany or not, but your money expires after 2 years. Like I got a sell-by date. You put money in your account, and then after 2 years, it just disappears. What is that about? Obviously, the one that sticks out here is the one that forgoes your right to a refund on digital purchases. That is wrong, and it does need to be changed. Not just that you're told that you're foregoing your rights to a refund. You actually need the right for a refund, because this kind of shady shit goes on all the time in games. You buy a game these days, and sometimes, you know, the game doesn't look like what it's sold sometimes. You might have features in the game that aren't there at launch, or you might have had promises like, you know, No Man's Sky. I mean, I'm not saying this is No Man's Sky. Yeah, it's No Man's Sky, right? You buy a game like No Man's Sky, promised all the world, you can't get your money back. Why? Because, you know, because f you, that's why. That is just my 2 cents. 2 pence, let's say. That's just my 2 pence. Because we use pennies, pence in the UK, not cents. So it doesn't make any sense to use. Let's move on. There has been a lot of talk and worry regarding the future of single-player games in the industry recently. Talk about, you know, whether or not they're dying. While speaking to GamesIndustry.biz at PAX West, Koji Igarashi, the producer of Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, strongly believes that single-player games aren't going anywhere and made some convincing statements as to why. Quote, "There is a difference between people who play single-player games and people who play multiplayer games, as much as there are differences between people who are introverts and extroverts. There isn't anything we need to do to ensure single-player games can sustain themselves. There will always be people who enjoy playing single-player games more than multiplayer games. We've already seen many of the best-selling games this year to be single-player experiences. God of War, Far Cry 5 and Spider-Man, for example, which are all testament to how strong the single-player market is right now." Igarashi does, however, acknowledge how much money multiplayer games make. Quote, "It's very difficult that multiplayer games are so profitable, but single-player games are where a lot of indie games come in. With single-player, you can create the game you want to create." Yeah, there's a load of multiplayer games out there right now, more than that ever has been in the industry. That doesn't mean that nobody wants to play single player games anymore, EA. There's more money in multiplayer games if you can get a hit, and that's why you get all these big corporations chasing that money, trying to make the next Fortnite, trying to make the next PUBG or whatever Battle Royale game mode they're throwing into the games this year, because everyone's doing it. That's not making games, that's just chasing money. Come on, let's be honest. And there's people out there still buying single player games. You look at Spider-Man, fastest selling game of the year on a single platform. It's a single player experience. There's no multiplayer, there's no battle royale, none of that shit. People just have to realize that there's something for everybody now. If you want your multiplayer, microtransactions, loot boxes, all that shit, you can get it. But there will always be single player games, and whether it's just Sony knocking them out the park this year like they have been doing, or just like indie games, for example. Indie games are where it's at. If you're sick of microtransactions, you're sick of this multiplayer monetization method, whatever, indie games are like my haven right now. If ever I'm tired of all the bullshit that's going on in the industry, I just pick up an indie game and play it. Dead Cells, man. Solid Dead Cells. Solid. What a game. But those are just my thoughts, and you are welcome to comment whatever you think down in the comments below. Let me know. Let's get the conversation started. And that is it for today's Daily Dose of Gaming News. I will be back again not tomorrow, on Thursday. Why aren't you back tomorrow, guys? Well, it's my wedding anniversary tomorrow, so I'm not going to be stood here talking about the news. I'm going to be in the spa, getting a nice massage and chilling out, right? Okay, deal with it. If you want to be notified on Thursday when the video arrives, hit the bell below the video, and I will see you then. Bye for now.